defining yoga, I like to look at the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which is Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha, which points to yoga really being a consciousness. It's not something we do. It's not a series of postures. It's not the methods that we're taught, but it's a state of being. And Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha points to it being a state that is free, still, and quiet on the inside. And we can all relate to this, where the mind tends to move. It whips and it whirls. It becomes a bit of a vortex of repetitive thoughts. And that word is vritti. And nirodha means to still, to quiet, to overcome, and really create a deep relationship with that inner dialogue, one that is empowering, one that is intimate, and ultimately one that our higher self gets to choose how we respond in any moment instead of being whipped into reaction. Yoga is a consciousness. It's a state of being. It's also a lifestyle. It's so many things, and it can be whatever it is for you. My husband is a runner, and that's his yoga. It's whatever helps you to find your inner stability and your inner sweetness and your inner calm. That is your higher self. In a lot of ways, yoga is really about learning how to lighten up. And as much as one on the path of yoga really wants to transmute, transform, lift, and go up, yes, please, we really must, as we are in this beautiful human form, learn how to ground and stabilize. And through that, connecting to our deep roots, we actually get pulled up. And life, let's face it, life is heavy. The waves of life are rough. And yoga is ultimately offering us methods to learn how to work with those waves. So we have choice in the matter. We can either be pushed and pulled on the top of the surface and thrown around by the waves, or we can recognize that there's a whole ocean below, that no matter the intensity of the waves above, the depth of the ocean doesn't get disturbed. We can really find that place inside of us. I am so drawn to yoga, and I feel really blessed to be able to share it and share it as truly a tool for life. The teachings show us that there is causeless bliss within inside of us. Through the lens of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, it's tara drashtuhu svarupe vashtanam. When we are in this consciousness of yoga, when we are in this place of steady peace, of tranquility within, when we're in the depth of the ocean versus on top of the wave, we are in our brilliance. We're in our essence. And each and every one of us has access to this causeless bliss because it's our nature. To embodying it and remembering it, it's not easy. Don't be fooled. The path is arduous, it's long, and we do the methods of yoga, the practices, so that we remember to remember that we already have everything we're seeking. We have this deep stability within us. We have this radiant joy, but we got to come back to it again and again and again. It is an absolute blessing. It's an honor. It's a responsibility to share yoga, and it's an incredible tool. It's not the only way. It's one of many, and it is absolutely a path to truth. And if you feel called to it, run to it. And there's so many aspects within this massive umbrella of yoga. It's also a saying within yoga that every 12 years, a piece of this giant puzzle of this beautiful discipline will really reveal itself to you. And when it does, run towards that. Take it on fully, cook in it, be in it, and then wait for the next call, because it will be coming down the pipeline. Such a blessing to hold the container of a deeper immersion, which we call a yoga teacher training. A lot of students come to steep themselves in the teachings of yoga with no anticipation to share yoga, and then they choose to share, or some people come and they want to teach yoga and choose to immerse themselves. Any way it is, when we really truly commit, and we commit together in community, there is something that is no short of magic that occurs. I get the great honor of every year, again and again, witnessing the power of yoga shift people. This might not sound extreme. However, what I see at the end of the program are bodies that are softer and more open, and eyes that are more focused and twinkling. It happens every year. And of course, there's the really profound stories where people transform health conditions, they transform relationships, work. And essentially what yoga is offering us is a connection to our own personal strength and courage. It's remembering that we've got whatever life has handed us. And methods are that, in the sense that they're allowing you to reclaim your own personal strength. And when you show up with consistency and devotion, where you put your attention, energy flows, and therefore growth and change happens. When people make that commitment, watching the transformation is absolutely beautiful. There's just this more polished clarity within them, and more connected to one's tall, strong spine, their center, where they're like, I've got myself. It brings me to my knees sometimes with humility on the transformation that has unfolded in my personal life. Just keeps revealing itself again and again and again, where it's cleaning the lens in which we see the world through. Once you start to really walk the path, you realize how profound and how challenging this is. We tend to see through eyes that are fogged. We tend to see through glass that is smudged. And then we don't get to see what's in front of us for what it really is. We see through our experiences, we see through our identities, we see through our failures, we see from our successes, and that which we see is then just ourselves. So layer by layer, thread by thread, we start to hold down this tapestry so we can actually see the world and the beauty making and the sorrow, and be there instead of being in our head. Was a series of yeses to opportunities that were asked of me. Those yeses often come with a lot of fear of, can I do this? Am I allowed to do this? It's really beautiful to be at this point of being able to really manifest that intention in the way that it has flowed through. The opportunity initially to start a teacher training was a studio asked me to hold theirs. And I said yes. And then it has grown and expanded and evolved in the way that the universe has wanted it to. And I just feel incredibly humbled and grateful to be along this path and along this ride. One aspect to Anu, one in deep intention, is to create a school versus a studio or a drop-in culture around yoga. And this isn't right and this isn't wrong, it's just what is. And when yoga came over to the West, which really wasn't that long ago in the time scheme of history, it got pushed into the exercise industry. I personally believe that was because that's what we as a culture in America were ready to receive. And as anybody who's walked the path of yoga, when you commit, yoga does you. And it starts peeling back the layers and things start to open and reveal. And so we find ourselves many years past that initial jump over, and you can see the call for the deeper teachings are being made. It doesn't belong in the fitness industry, as asana is one small piece to this beautiful discipline. The intention of Anu is it's a school that is really designed for the deeper dives. Yes, we have weekly yoga classes, and yes, we're forming community locally around that, which is really beautiful to see and really important in this work. But the grand intention of Anu, it's that school, it's I come to take on all 8 limbs of yoga, and I come to really immerse myself in a deeper dive into the depths of yoga.
Everything that I would apply comes from the root of Svadhyaya, of self-study. The biggest thing that hit me in this program was realizing how silly some of the things that scare me or the things that hold me back are, and using all of the teachings to pair my understanding of the human experience with what's been holding me back or what I've been focusing on to have something to root myself against. I understand what that is because of this, and guide my life that way. It's through this lens of yoga, of self-study, of undoing what has been done and finding the root of who you are. I have this understanding of myself personally.
Sanskrit is really a vibrational language. And so when we use the words, we are vibrating at that intention, at that truth. And neuroscience is catching up with this. Everything is energy. And what the practices and the methods of yoga are doing is they're increasing our vibrations so that we vibrate at a higher frequency. The word in itself holds potency, it holds truth. And Anu has many meanings. If you were to look up any Sanskrit word in a dictionary, there's about 35 different definitions. And then you look up the roots to each word, and there's many, many different definitions. What the invitation is like, what lands for you right now, and what is alive within you? Anu means atom, which in itself doesn't sound extremely inspiring, but let me unpack it a little. So it's the smallest measurement of matter, which holds the potential, the potency. And so the analogy is one oak tree seed has the potential for a whole forest. And that's what yoga is reminding us, is that we have it all. We have the potency within us. We've just got to water the right seeds. We need to water the right thoughts. We need to cultivate the inner field so that the inspiration, the motivation, the uplifted energy can bear fruit. And so it is pointing to the potential, but then also the potency and the efficiency and the effectiveness of these practices. And with that, there's an order to things. There is an order to the process of growth and transformation. And yoga asks us, if we're going to have an honest practice, is to really meet ourselves right where we are. And the step forward that we need to take is really unique to us as an individual and where we truly are in this moment. In that, Anu Yoga School is lineage-based because we do believe that we don't have to recreate the wheel. These teachings have been handed down generation after generation after generation as far as humanity can look. You don't have to recreate it. It's right here. And what I believe is that you need a strong foundation initially in a lineage-based practice. And it's important to really cook within that. Another intention of Anu Yoga School is to be at the creative edge of evolution, where we are meeting each student and the times right where we are. And yoga truly is an evolving science where there is an order to things, but we've got to meet ourselves where we are on the path in that exact moment. And so being at that creative evolutionary edge, meeting the times with ancient practices, and then falling back into the foundation and the trust of these really time-tested lineage-based practices. Then the last part of Anu is that it means to go with the flow, to go with the guiding hand of grace. As yoga is really ultimately the practice of surrender and recognizing that we do not have to micromanage and control everything, that it is happening. There's an order to things. There's an intention that we'll never understand, that makes sense looking back, never makes sense looking forward. And so we are reminded to trust ourselves, trust the process, and don't swim upstream. Go with the current, feet down. Anu is pointing to the potency and the effectiveness of these practices. It's pointing to the seed-like state of them that can really form into a huge forest. And it's pointing to that sense of surrender and trust to really go with the guiding hand of grace. It's a practice. It's a practice, and I teach to learn. Those are not my words. Those are words of Krishnamacharya, who could be considered a grandfather of modern day yoga. And I practice what I teach, and I teach what I practice as best as I can, day by day, and I'm humbled endlessly. I commit to my studies and studying with teachers who I'm drawn to, who are trusted. Trust in the process. This lesson was actually shared with me initially in my first training, to trust that the right students will come to you at the right time. I heard it. I didn't really understand it, but 8 years into running a yoga teacher training program, it's incredible how true that is. And I share that with all of our new teachers. The right people come to you, and whatever you have to share, if you're sharing truly from your heart and from your personal experience, it will resonate, and we all have something to share. It's back to everything is energy, vibrating. The right students are going to be pulled to you, and you don't have to be 5 chapters ahead of them. You just need to be 1 chapter ahead. And you have so much to share. And it's not rocket science. What we're doing is we're working with the nervous system here, and we're giving people tools to become intimate with their inner world and their inner experience. And it's important to know that yoga is an empirical science. And what that means is that yoga really doesn't care what you know and what you can regurgitate. It is all about direct communion with, or direct experience with, where we are journeying within to have a somatic experience with something. Maybe it's our higher self. Maybe it's source. Maybe it's that connectivity between all beings. Whatever it may be. And if we teach from that and be honest with our personal practice and our personal growth and stick with it, the right people come at the right time. It in itself, running a business, is a great journey of trust and a great journey of courage, where you have a calling. And if you try to ignore the call, it's only going to get louder. And then the frustration and the misalignment becomes more profound. And this call for me, as soon as I found yoga, started to only get louder and louder and louder. What we long for is right within the longing. The actual experience of longing is what we are longing for. So to follow that takes great bravery, and in it you learn about your personal resiliency, your deep courage and strength, and that is yoga.
I've been training with Sarah for almost 10 years at various studios. And 3.5 years ago, she invited me to an intensive. It was start the year off in January. It was a 5-day sequence, a deep dive into yoga, and it sounded great. And so I did that and really loved it. I was surprised at how engaged I was in that process. Then she invited me to take yoga teacher training, which was not on my agenda. It was not something I was planning on, but I initially looked at it simply as a chance to spend 200 hours with my favorite teacher. And so why not? Deep dive into these postures that have sometimes stumped me. That was my draw. It wasn't to be a teacher, but it turns out that I enjoy being a teacher as well. But that was a surprise ending. I did not expect that as I was going through the training. I remember even the first day in training, Sarah, she was asking each of us why we were there. And I gave her my reason why, that it wasn't to teach yoga. And she just smiled, said, okay, we'll see. Because she knew the famous line that when you are ready, the teacher will appear. And although I had been training with Sarah for 10 years, I'd seen her as just a yoga teacher. She hadn't yet become my mentor, my guru. She was just one of the yoga teachers there. And although she was my favorite teacher, I didn't see where that relationship was going to go. And it's just blossomed.
The metaphor that I like to think of is a stained glass window, where each one of us is a small segment of that stained glass window. And due to the color, the shape, the degree it is on the window, the light is going to hit it and bend it in its own unique way. And so we are here in this incarnation, in this vessel, in this vehicle, and the way the light will shine through us uniquely is unique and is our dharma. It is our duty to share it through that lens. And it's really all we can do. It takes a lot of cleaning, endless cleaning. And then when you think you're clean, clean some more. And that's really where the methods of yoga come in, where they're cleaning that glass so that the light can ultimately shine through. I'm humbled to remember again and again that nobody is sharing anything new. And anytime anybody shares from that lens, you can see the ego tainting the truth. Truth is one, paths are many, and there's as many paths as there have been masters over time. Remembering that we are not sharing anything new, however, it is our responsibility to share it authentically. And the path that we have walked, we own, and is very unique to us. So the way that we curate the teachings of yoga, and therefore let the light shine out of our own unique glass, is going to be unique and creative. There is an element of really owning the path that you've walked and being empowered and inspired, and recognizing that the only reason we are where we are today on our own unique path is because we are standing on the shoulders of giants. And we are standing on all the teachers who have lifted us up. Even the teachers, we will never know their name, because through their love and through their devotion, they've kept this art and this science alive. The pit to humbling and to softening is really endless. It's like trusting and leaning into that lineage is so empowering and so beautiful, and recognizing that we're really all saying the same thing ultimately, but how it's gonna hit each individual is unique, and we're trying to pierce it to the core. And there's the factor of time, of culture, of where we are on the past. There is a ripening process to this. There is an order to it. So we've got to be honest, meet ourselves where we're at, and recognize that it's going to penetrate us again and again and again, and then we're going to forget, and then we're going to remember, and then we're going to go away, and then we're going to come back. Holding that space with care for everybody's unique journey, holding it with compassion, because my journey is my journey, and everybody else is going to have their own unique journey. We creatively present through our own unique path. Our intentions at Anu is to provide a practice for life, which means that it's an integrated practice where we add in all 8 limbs, many different methods, so that you can meet yourself realistically wherever you are in your life cycles, in your physical body, in whatever's happening in your environment. One practice is chanting. Practice of chanting or working with Sanskrit is to clear the space between the head and the heart. And what is between those two spaces, which very often gets clouded, is the throat. And so we work with chanting to clear that channel between the head and the heart, which often feels like the longest distance in the body. And that is attuning to a certain vibration. And if nothing else, it is giving your mind something to hook onto instead of ruminating and whirling and whipping and if I coulda, shoulda, wouldas. So it really helps to steady the mind. And you can chant to yourself anywhere at any time, and nobody's going to be knowing that you're practicing yoga, and you're steadying yourself. And then of course, chitta means your personal energy field. Yoga's chitta vritti nirodha, the definition of yoga through the lens of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, is that that field is still. And so maybe you're sitting at a really intense meeting. And so you have that method ingrained into you. And it's remembering to remember. That's the biggest obstacle I find. So remembering to do that in that moment, it's this intention of a practice for life. You're never too sick to chant. Every time I'm home from flying, I'm so grateful for my asana practice because I know how to restructure my spine. Within our program, we love props. We teach poses without props, and then we teach all these creative expressions of the same pose with props so that you can meet your body with whatever is arising. Maybe today you need 4 blocks, maybe tomorrow you need none, but you have an educated and empowered practice so you can meet your physical body, you can meet your mind, and you really know how to do that cleaning, how to do that cleansing, how to do that strengthening, and how to really come home to yourself. I'm humbled by the magic myself. It's the methods, where the methods bring us back home to reclaim our innate wholeness that is whole within the fragmented pieces. It is a returning home again and again and again and again. And then there's so many different paths in. One of the aspects to Anu Yoga School is it is a lineage-based program where we really lean into the foundation of lineage, but we are at that creative edge of evolution, and we are inspired to be creative and have that expression of your own unique path come out. It's as simple as giving yourself more time to cook in the practices, where when you are in a training or an immersion, you have put your energy, your time, and your intention into the discipline of yoga, into the study, the science, and the art of yoga. And so that seeps in deeper. That's really why I wanted to start a school versus a studio, where we have more time together to create deeper relationships in community, in our sacred sangha. We have more time to sit in the practices and in the methods, and we have more time to dive into the sacred texts and the teachings. And then people walk out with what I like to believe a very well integrated, inspired, and educated practice that they can hopefully meet whatever is arising within their life chapter, within their physical body or their mind, with more grace.
There's no better way to learn about yourself than getting in an environment, especially with a sangha and yoga group, to discover yourself. Yoga is about discovering yourself. You will be amazed at what comes out. A lot of people could do an online program, and I would totally not recommend that, because I think one of the biggest, coolest things about our experience was the Sangha and the community. And we had such a tender, safe space that allowed us all to be vulnerable and real. And Sarah brings so much joy and play into it that it makes it so much more light. There's so much deepness to it, but she brings a lightness that was woven throughout the whole program that made it really special with the Sangha and the group of women.
There's something really special about storytelling where it circumvents the linear mind and hits us right to the core of being human. And ultimately, that is really what yoga is offering us, as yoga is union and coming back to that shared humanity where we all have so many unique stories. However, there is no emotion that we as humans will touch that is unique to us. So we all share the emotions and the implications of our own unique stories, but there's this shared aspect to it. It also touches into something that is very ancestral, where humans have been sitting around fires originally and sharing tales since as far back as we can look. Another aspect to mythology, which is so beautiful, is that we truly are every character in the story, where the pieces and the parts to the story that we feel really inspired and really connected to and really aligned with are our light sides. And that's the piece and the part of ourselves that we love to share with others. We love to talk about, we love to put forth. However, the stories of mythology always rub us on these pieces of ourselves that we want to push away, that we don't want to look at, that we don't really want to share, we don't want anybody to know about. But as yoga is unity, we need to turn into our shadows, turn into the subconscious, turn into those pieces and parts of ourselves that we've pushed away. And we need to pull it all together and look at it and see the divinity and the beauty and the humanity in all of it to reclaim. Another way to think of that, which is really beautiful, is that anything we've pushed away, whether it's a story, a relationship, a person, an experience, our prana, our life force energy fouls it. And so to have an honest yoga practice over time, we need to pull and reclaim that so that that prana can move up and help us to experience higher states of consciousness. I adore the stories. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, I adore and love, and they're very titrated down wisdom. And so it's very direct, it's very piercing, and can really turn into a lecture or discourse, we call it, which is really beautiful and supportive in our learning. But the stories soften us into this opening to receive the information in a different and a unique way that's really personal. The mythic consciousness that we get to step into in a shared field, and it's playful and it's fun. It fits for all ages. That's another part that's really fun. My kids and I love to sit around and listen and tell the stories. A lot of the mythology points where the obstacle actually becomes the great opportunity if we choose to go into the cave of the heart and get really still and then collect our own unique gifts, our own unique gems, which need to be polished through the methods of yoga in this discipline. It's not the only way, but polish our own unique gifts. And then when we move out into the world, they are the blessings that we give.
Storytelling is just so captivating, and that's why it permeated my brain so much. She's just so rooted in Ashtanga. She just feels like so steeped in what she knows in the lineage, and I just love all of the life lessons that come with it too.
Over the years, what I have learned is many people come to teach yoga, and many leave pursuing that. And many come to immerse themselves, and they leave pursuing that. The yoga teacher training in so many ways holds the first step in the deep integration and immersion that yoga requires to really cook in it and really take it seriously. And we've arranged our school in such a way that people can do trimesters over time. Term 1 is more designed for that deep immersion, where we're really laying a solid, strong foundation for anyone. Who it's designed for is anyone who has the call. And you're going to know when you have it. It starts as a whisper and it gets louder and louder. And my only piece of advice is follow it as soon as you can. And the magic comes in the commitment. That doesn't mean that it's easy. And it doesn't mean that it's not going to bring up your stuff and you're going to get that opportunity to really get clear with yourself, which is challenging. The magic is in the clarity and the courage and the strength and the reassurance. It's that little call that I'm ready. It's the questions, not to have an answer. It's the mystery of the question that we want to live in, but it's those deeper questions. It's that call to have more intentional living, more intentional community, more connection to the self, to have more inspiration in our everyday grind, to lighten up, to heal. First, we have to meet ourselves where we're at, and you've got to get that call. Accidentally turn on the news for 5 seconds and you will see the state of our planet. We are in trying times and we can try to hide from that. And many great masters in yoga have said that we're entering a pretty trying time right now. There's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of war, there's a lot of division. And yoga means unity. And that experience, because it's an empirical science, it's a direct communion with unity. It starts with unifying oneself, where we can align the mind with the heart, with the speech. As my teacher Annie Pei says, we can align this individual unique package and hold our attention at one point for an extended period of time by choice. And then as we do that with consistency, devotion, and wholeheartedness, we start to experience unity on a bigger plane. And that's the great mystery. Unity with each other, unity with the earth, unity with something bigger than the self. It's a time where we could all agree more unity, more clarity, more connection is really important. We are, as humanity, coming to a true threshold. And my hope is that we will rise to the occasion and come together. Look around. There is a lot of work to do. One of the intentions of Anu Yoga School is to give yoga more voices. And what that means is to give unity, to give clarity, to give heart, to give hope, more voices. And in order to do that, we have to go within first and foremost, and then go in some more. Whether it's for your own personal immersion and to find a more spiritual life, to find a more spiritual community that is non-dogmatic, then an immersion or a training is a really great place. And we absolutely have work to do to lift consciousness and overcome the obstacles that are right here, right now in front of us. Your own strength, your own resiliency. Some of us do and some of us don't have diluted grandeur about things. Actually, it's much more subtle. What you'll walk away from, a more subtle sense of stability, a more subtle sense of sweetness, a more connected reality to one's truth and to a higher truth. Truth is one, paths are many. A beautiful community to be a part of that really supports each other. The methods, the time-tested methods. And that remembering to remember. Every time we remember, we plant the seed of remembrance. Every time we reconnect with our breath during a trying moment, we train our nervous system to downshift. It truly is like planting a garden. And you can think of that in your mind. What are you feeding? Are you nurturing the negativity, the worry, the anxiety? Or are you nurturing and feeding the peace, the connectivity, the hope, the love? It's not easy, but it is that simple. Because we are highly porous. And so everything that we're around, we're really taking in, and our nervous system is taking in. So we become more discerning over time of what we want to participate in, because we recognize that our consciousness, our energetic field, we work really hard to stabilize and steady. And so our choices start to shift in what you want to listen to and what conversations you want to be a part of, because you can feel it seeping in. If you have a very honest meditation practice, you feel it seep in. We do the methods and the practices to get that residue of connectivity, the residue of love, of higher vibrations, and then it impacts our choices. We encourage in our school to share yoga through your very presence. And the person to serve is the person who's right in front of you. The person to serve is the person who's right in front of you. So whatever's happening in your world, whether you're, a mother working with your kids, or you're a teacher, or you're in some business world, the people around you are the ones to share yoga with through your presence. You don't have to teach asana. It can just be a safe space of stability for those people around you, and that is beautiful. Remembrance of answering the call and trusting it and sticking to it, even though the mind loves to chatter that you're not good enough, you shouldn't be doing this, who are you to do that? And yoga again and again has taught me to reclaim that power and that strength and that light, and to trust it. And showing up is enough. When you show up over a long time with devotion and wholeheartedness, it really transforms you. And so every turn, there's another opportunity to remember that. In owning a business, in working in the field of yoga, and working with other people. The practice of yoga is within every aspect of life. The very methods of yoga are going to put you face to face to whatever self-limiting belief you've been carrying that does not serve you. And then the opportunity is to overcome it and transcend it. And then you think you got it, and check again, it comes back up, but you have a new hold on it. If we choose to walk the path, is to really get clear, is this serving me or is this limiting me? And is it even true? And wait, hold on, I am capable beyond measure and more powerful than I've ever realized. So let's restructure this. Follow that fear. Truly, the places that we have these deep fears are where our limitations are, and that's where we really want to get intimate with them, because there are powers on the other side of it. Once the call is made, it will get louder and louder, and that is so beautiful. So trust the divine timing of it. It's never going to be easy to clear your schedule, pay a bunch of money, and make a big commitment as an adult. There's always going to be obstacles. At Anu Yoga School, we're really happy to support and welcome and work with those obstacles as best as we can. It's the opportunity where the call has been made, answer it, because it is incredible to see what comes out of that commitment to yourself. Always suggest to talk to our graduates, and a lot of them are so willing and so sweet to have a conversation to really see if this is the right program for you.